Hello and welcome to the latest chapter in the long-running saga of the €9 transport ticket, because this story seems to be lurching from one disaster to the next, and now there's an argument over where the money is supposed to come from, one that could potentially scupper the whole deal. So, for those of you who don't know what's going on, here's a quick recap. Some weeks ago, the German federal government announced a package of measures designed to give some financial support to people and businesses hit by rising energy costs. One of these measures is the €9 public transport ticket. For 3 months, you'll be able to buy a ticket that will let you use local public transport anywhere in Germany for just €9 per month. And it will have the added benefit of encouraging more people to use public transport, which is a great idea in principle, but it raises a whole lot of issues, some of which I have covered in previous videos. And there are a lot of questions still unanswered. I know this because some of you have been asking them in the comments. But one question that we all thought had been answered is, who's going to pay for all of this? Yes, we all thought the federal government had said that it would cover all the costs. Well, now it seems that the federal government is only prepared to cover some of the costs, leaving the states to cover the rest. The federal government is offering to pay €2.5 billion to compensate for loss of income, and that's in addition to €1.2 billion coming from an already existing scheme to compensate for loss of ticket sales due to the pandemic. But hang on, say the states, we're supposed to be getting €1.6 billion from the pandemic payments. You're giving us $400 million less than we thought you'd agreed to. Ah, says the federal government, but in those 3 months the pandemic won't be affecting ticket sales, will it? You'll be getting more passengers, not less. Well, yes, say the states, but they're all buying this super cheap ticket, so that means a loss of income. That's the point. You're trying to finance a scheme to compensate for loss of income by cutting back on a scheme to compensate for loss of income. But, says the federal government, you'll be benefiting from all the other measures to offset increased energy and fuel costs. True, say the states, but that's not enough. You've just announced a policy that is going to cost us a lot of money, and you're not giving us enough to recoup those losses. It's your policy, you pay for it. It gets worse though, because the federal government seems to be offering a fixed sum. If, as is widely expected, the scheme costs more than that, the states are going to have to find the money from somewhere else. What the states would like to see is for the federal government to be required to make up any shortfall. This is known in German financial circles as Nachschusspflicht. The federal government, on the other hand, has basically said that would be effectively writing a blank check, and we're not prepared to do that. But the states are under pressure from operators, tariff associations, and the unions. They're facing not just increased energy costs, but price rises across the board, including things like maintenance and staff wages. And with more people expected to use local public transport, operators are probably going to have to try to increase capacity, which means more vehicles and more drivers, which will put costs up even more. The federal government's response to that has been, well, yes, you'll be getting more passengers. Isn't that what you want? Well, yes, but not if they can't physically get onto the trains and buses. So, how might this scupper the deal? Well, there is in place a mechanism that should ensure that the federal government can't easily force the states to accept all the risks of a federal government initiative against their will, and that is the Federal Council. This is a body made up of delegates from each of the 16 states, and it has to approve this scheme before it can go ahead. In theory, the Council could choose to reject it. Now, personally, I don't think it will, but the theoretical possibility exists. The problem for the government is that it has set a trap for itself. Having loudly trumpeted this crowd-pleasing policy, it now has to decide whether it wants to go through with it and risk it backfiring horribly, or abandon it and risk the fury of every commuter and transport operator in the country. In case you haven't already seen it, I put a link down there to my previous video on the subject in which I talk about some of the other problems of this scheme.